think you ought to know. That men's radio. The place where men and women really speak. Oh man, what a show. It's men's radio. This crazy show is on 3 times a week. Now Russ and Phil are there to help with all your cares. We laugh, we cry, we talk like grown-ups do. But if you're sad and low, it won't cost you no dough. Men's radio, that's the place for you. With Russ Kane and Phil Dave.
Oh my goodness me!
Ahoy, hoy, Phil Dave.
You know what? We did what we call in the trade. We fell on
again. Sod it. Ahoy, hoy, Phil Dave.
Oh yeah, ahoy, hoy, Russ Kane. Sorry. Anyway, we did what we call fall on air today. I'm going to be perfectly honest.
I fell on it because I tell you for why, gang. I tell you for why. Hey, you're in Cyprus. Oh, your Facebook is back up. So Sam Monroe, who went into total blue and meltdown because his Facebook, God knows what, I haven't got back. Anyway, he's back. Good. I'm pleased about that. Somebody called Linda Dave. Well, she doesn't know us very well. Hello, gentlemen. Must be joking there. Yeah, Sen, look, mate, I don't know. Is that a threat or a promise? Who the hell knows?
Barry J. Allen says, afternoon all.
Hey, gang. You got an espresso machine, right? Which when I don't make my full pot, Italian pot thing, right? So I did it. So I made my coffee, which I need, and it got a huge show today, by the way, gang. You really want to watch this. It's huge. Right. So I did it, and the thing didn't pop. Sen, shut up. You're really getting on my nerves now. Having lunch by the sea. I hate you. All right? I hate you.
It's a bit harsh.
Well, no, it isn't, because I know what he's going to do. He's going to send me loads of pictures of, oh, hello, everybody. People, here I am on the beach. Here I am having lovely, fabulous, delicious lunch in beautiful sunshine. Shut up. Shut up. Gets on my nerves. Where was the invitation? I'd have popped out for a few days with you. Right. Listen. Anyway, I got lots to explain. Phil, you're looking like you're about to take your A levels today. It's the shirt. It looks like you're in part of your school uniform. You've gone mad, taken off your school tie. You do.
And put a cravat on instead.
And to put a what? Cravat?
I don't wearing a cravat at school, but I would have.
Stand by, boy. Stand by, boy.
Ah.
There we go.
I have to tell you, playing that music at the moment is not thrilling me too much. I used to love that song.
I still like that song, but I think I'm not going to go into it. Hey, now listen. It's a bit of a special show, and thrown together at the last minute. One of it isn't, but some of it is. Last night.
Oh no! Oh no!
What's the matter now?
We've been out headphoned.
What's that?
We've been out headphoned.
Oh, yeah, I know. Becky, you're going to have to wait. I know, Bookaholic Bex. Can you hear me? Bookaholic Bex. Hang on. I'm going to bring her on for a sec because this is all my fault. This has got nothing to do with Phil, and I have effed up. Right. Bex, hello. Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Hello.
Yes. I'm going to have to ask you to wait just a bit. I've managed to screw stuff up. So could you wait in our lovely digital green room for a bit, and we'll bring you back on?
I would be delighted to if I can work out how to get
Phil
that.
has been really great. He's put on lots of lovely digital toast. There's digital coffee, digital tea. There's fresh digital
biscuits. As long as there's digital biscuits, I'm happy.
There's loads. There's a whole selection.
Okay.
Phil went this morning to Waitrose. So you enjoy yourself, and we will be back with you.
All right. I'll see
you take care. Enjoy eat as much as you want. You're very, very
well. Believe me.
All right. Great.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. No, it's completely my fault. I've not stopped, and I'll tell you why.
And she didn't use in the digital green room.
No, she's perfectly happy, and she and I have been emailing for ages, so to sort this out. Last night, out of the blue, because of what's going on in Ukraine, last night, this chap who's just the greatest host and manager in Soho. His name is George Mickey, and he's a friend. He's become a good mate. And Phil and I just think he's
whether he likes it or not.
Yeah, it's an onerous job to be a friend of mine. Anyway, George, bless him. runs the Soho Whiskey Club, which sounds very grand. Now, bear with me, everybody. This will make sense. And the Soho Whiskey Club really is a room above a shop. It sounds like it's going to be la-di-da, but it's just the nicest bunch of people, apart from when Phil rocks up and lowers the tone so dramatically. Anyhow, George, it's harsh, but it's true. So George has
got no curbs, like sort of no control over who they let in.
Well, no, it was my fault for you coming several times as a guest, and you thought, "Oh, I know, I'll join," which was my mistake. I can only apologise to George Mickey. Now, George decided to have a fundraising evening for Ukraine. Okay, and it's only it's a wonderful club, and the gang is so friendly, and it's just the best place. It's my favourite place in town where I go to chill out, right? And he did this, and he's thinking, well, I don't know, I'll put some feelers out. Anyway, the Business Association of Soho, if I've screwed that up, I'm sorry, George will remind me in a minute. Everybody piled in. There was an embarrassment of riches, of people offering, most incredible prizes for the raffle and everything. George did this in about 5 minutes' time. And last night, in this little place with just us sitting in our jeans and T-shirts and having a damn good time, thanks to George Mickey, for Ukraine, something like £28,000 was raised. 28 grand, which is incredible.
Wow.
And it was just wonderful. And the atmosphere and everything was marvelous. Anywho, I'm going to bring him on straight away, because then I'm going to explain what we're going to listen to, because it nearly moved me to tears. Right. Well, there he is. You're on the terrace.
I'm on the terrace.
Wow.
How's the internet out here? Is it okay?
That's yeah.
George, we were in front of an audience. You know they'd be doing this right about now, right? I mean, that's an incredible sum of money. Sensational stuff. Well done.
Well, George, I can't believe you're up, because if you're feeling anything like I'm feeling this morning, I don't know how you're moving, quite honestly, but there we go.
I don't know. 4 a.m. I think.
Is that what time you finished clearing up? It was a fantastic event, and I wanted to say congratulations to you, and I know Phil feels exactly the same. And the reaction on social media was fantastic. Now, one of the Soho Whiskey Club gang is a musician who I've heard play several times, and absolutely tremendous, who I'm going to bring on right now. And George did all of this. I did nothing. I just rocked up. Okay, so I'm not pretending that I'm any part of this other than just a punter. Tim Hain. Tim, how are you?
As Winston Churchill once said, considering the alternative, I'm fine and blessed to be here and alive on this Wednesday morning.
Now, Tim, lean to your left, sir, because otherwise you're hidden by the Ukrainian heart. There you go. That's better.
Okay. Great. That's perfect. That's perfect. Now, Tim, I'm going to do a little bit of an intro. And normally I would avoid this. We never play music on Men's radio station because there's a million other places you can go, including Spotify.
Hey, Russ.
What, baby?
Russ, I've just realised.
What?
Tim and I go to the same hairdresser.
The League of Advancing the LAF.
To reminisce.
Yeah.
I don't know why you shaved your head, Philip. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So Tim got up with his guitar and he said, well, I've written a song. Now, I'm going to be absolutely honest with you. Normally my heart would sink at this point, and I'm thinking, oh God, this is just going to be one of those awful, awful things. This song was so moving and so magnificent that I walked over to Tim after the auction and everything, and I said, would you consider coming onto the show, because it's so poignant. I'm not going to say any more. Tim, do the introduction if you'd be so kind, because it was just fabulous.
Sure. Well, I was watching Sky News, and they were interviewing a few days ago. They were interviewing a young mother on a train with her daughter. And basically, I took the story and put it into a lyric. Everything that was being said, everything that was being conveyed of the absolute tragedy. And of course, there's this sort of inbuilt and growing empathy that kind of feels, well, what if that was me? Yeah. I actually approached a a girlfriend of mine who sings beautifully. Actually, she sang last time I was at the Soho Whiskey Club, because she came and joined me to sing, if you like, the female parts. But I'm just telling the story through the eyes and of this woman. So that's what the song's about. It just ended up being called The Children of Ukraine.
And you'd never played it before, had you? We were the first people ever to hear it, apart from your cat, apparently.
Yeah. Only the cats had heard it, and they hadn't left the room. So I thought, well, I must be onto something.
And they're stern critics, let's be honest.
They are. Yeah, definitely.
All right. Would you be so kind as to, and we never do this on MRS, but I think this is exceptional circumstances, and I think you're going to absolutely love this extraordinary tune. So I'm going to shut up and over to Tim Hain.
Quick sound check. Are you hearing this okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
And that was the song, ladies and gentlemen. It's short, it's sweet, but I think it's poignant.
Definitely.
And George wrote the lyrics on that, didn't you, George? You can always tell a George Mickey lyric. It's fabulous.
Oh my goodness. All right.
Go on. Off you go, Tim, in your own time.
Thank you. Forgive me if I forget the words. It's a very new song, and I don't have them written in front of me.
Half of me still in Kiev, half of me on this train with my daughter, leaving behind the home that was born. Daddy stays to fight the oppressor. This train rumbles into one more station. Desperados trying to climb on board. But it's already rang. The conductor, he won't open the doors. And there's no more room on this train. No more room for no more pain. And the world is watching and praying for the children of Ukraine. Fear and anger is all I can feel. 'Cause I didn't want to leave everything I love. Not knowing how we will be received as we ride this train to anywhere. People still matter, people still care, with only the flags in our hand, as we flee from our own sovereign land. There's no more room on this train. No more room, no more pain. And the world is watching and praying for the children of Ukraine. So goodbye, beloved country. Will I ever see you again? Leaving family and friends back there where the bombs and the bullets, they still rain. Oh yeah. Meanwhile he sits in his safe Siberia, frozen out by the rest of the world, yeah. The devil himself unleashes, and we suffer the forces of his darkness, yeah. And there's no more room on this train, no more room for no more pain, no more pain. And the world is watching, the world keep praying, please keep praying, praying, yeah, praying, praying for the children of Ukraine.
Boom.
Wow.
Boom. Not a dry eye in the house.
Good grief, man. Jordan,
That was extraordinary. And the effect last night, Tim, when you played that, you never played it before, and you could have heard a pin drop. It was, that was something. Thank you so much. George, were you expecting such a reaction from the Soho community?
Isn't it marvellous? All of the money that we pay with the membership, and he doesn't even have a blooming good internet.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Hopeless he is. He's hopeless. He's hopeless.
George,
can you hear us, George?
Am I muted?
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Sadly, yes. Now, George, were you expecting such a reaction from the Soho community? Because you look kind of dazzled by it. It was like an avalanche of hospitality and help. This is going very well. Right. Can you hear us or not? I have to tell you that the Wi-Fi at the Soho Whiskey Club is crap.
Listen, I thought that the members would get behind it.
This isn't good enough. Oh, this is sadly, George. Sadly,
last several years.
Tim, thank you so much. George, we can't hear you, I'm afraid. George, we can't hear you, and we're going to have to. This is like two-way family favourites from 1958. Tim, thank you so much. People want to know more about you and your music and everything. How do they find you?
You can find me on Facebook. Tim Hain.
Yeah.
I'm the Tim Hain with the Marilyn Monroe lookalike. I have
Susie Kennedy.
Yes,
That would be Susie, wouldn't it? My neighbour. We go to Tesco's.
Really? No,
I'm joking. Well, I meet her. Of all the places to meet her, she's like the most famous Marilyn Monroe impersonator in the world. Where do I meet her? Tesco's car park. Give up showbiz? I think not.
Well, she's wonderful, and she features.
She's just a great human being. She
features in a video I made about my friend, co-conspirator in my book, Lap of Honor. A photographic journey with Sir Sterling Moss, and I wrote it. Let's
talk about that another time.
Let's do Susie first because
one can only dream.
She's in this film.
Going again,
the film being called "Who Do You Think You Are, Sterling Moss?" It's a film I've just made because I'm setting the book to music, and she's in that. And when I showed the photograph of her and Sterling Moss in a clinch to Sterling Moss, he said, "Yes, she's a pretty good Marilyn, but I think she could pull a younger bloke if she tried."
He was one of my all-time heroes. I won't go into it because Phil will start rolling his eyes because he knows how I feel about Sterling Moss.
Can I just say as well?
There you go. Right, let's get back to.
I think you should note him. That the Simon Cowell of Bushy has spoken when she says that song should be released and the proceeds go to the Ukraine. The fact that my mother has the same surname to me does not mean we're related. So there you go. Marvellous stuff.
Tim, sorry, George, can you hear us now properly? Because last time was Pants.
I can't really hear you, but
we can hear you. We can hear you We can hear you perfectly. We can hear you perfectly. Were you surprised by the response? Over.
Oh, it was massive. It was incredible. The response from the members was unbelievable, and I always expected it to be. But the response from the businesses around Soho was what really blew me away. It was incredible.
And also explain very briefly the generosity, because it's all about mental health and well-being. And suddenly you tapped in to the generosity of some of the distillers who were giving If I put a car analogy, it would be like, all right, I'm going to phone Ferrari and let's do something stupid. And Enzo Ferrari says, I tell you what, George, I'll give you a Ferrari. You can have my Ferrari and I'll sign it. It was that level for the world of of whiskey, which I know people think, what's all that about? Explain it briefly if you could.
Matt, I'm really sorry. I can't hear you.
Oh, all right. Okay, look, we'll crack this up another time. So,
sorry,
George Mickey, who did a magnificent job. Congratulations. Tim Hain, well done on your song. Blew us away. Fantastic. We'll see you guys very soon. I might be seeing you this evening, actually. See you soon. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye, Tim.
Bravo, sir. Bravo.
There
we go. Well, that was a nice way to start the show. We don't normally start with live music.
No, we never have music because it's. I'll be honest, as Phil knows, and Phil gets the same. I get inundated. We've got our new artists, and they want to. I'm like, no, I don't. I am not interested. It's all pants. It all sounds terrible, and we're not a music station. But if it's about mental health and well-being, and you're thinking about the images we're seeing of people just leaving everything. And it's not like, I'm going to put this politely and help me out here, Phil. It's not like you're thinking, oh, they're living in poverty, so they're going from one lot of These people had perfectly lovely lives.
No,
they've walked out with one bag.
I think what people need to understand, and this unfortunately, I'm fairly sure that we'll have ancestors who could relate to this, is that live a life one day as normal.
Yeah.
And then the next, leave behind everything you know. And it doesn't matter how wealthy or how poor you are. Yep. Everything you know is gone. You leave behind friends, your family, your house, your car. Some of them leaving behind their pets because they can't take it. Whatever it may be, clothes, whatever it may be. Every single item that furnishes your life and your existence, like that, gone.
I know.
Now picture that. That's what we're dealing with.
I know this sounds so stupid because it's not a human being, but you've got Monty and Carlo. I've got Ebony. Those are our dogs, by the way. They're not our staff. And can you imagine you just have to walk out the front door and you're thinking, what's going to happen to them? Because if you're leaving a family member, you know that they're humans and they will somehow work something out. Just the thought of it absolutely brings. I know it's irrational. Please don't start writing and say, but they're not people. I get it. I know that, but it just puts stuff into perspective, doesn't it? It's just blooming awful. Just absolutely. Thank you, Dave Sleet. Appreciate. Oh, that's very good. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Going through London, it was interesting seeing the lights. A lot of it was. I hope Bookaholic Bex is going to come back. No idea.
It's better off now.
Well, she's probably you've upset her. I think it was you.
Have that effect on people.
I think it was you. You just the way you said hello, and I think she took offence.
Well, can't blame her really.
Not really. No. What have we got? No, that's not it. No, I was hoping for a message from her. No, maybe she misunderstood. Well, anyway, she may or she may not be back.
Kind of medium. What are you? Some kind of medium? I was hoping for a message.
Yep, fading.
You're in luck. Ta-da!
Oh, there she is.
Hi. I had to go mop up my tears. That was really moving.
Oh, it's extraordinary.
Oh, bless. We thought that Phil had upset you. He upsets many.
Well, he did.
Guests.
And it wasn't made any better by the quality of the virtual biscuits, which were frankly very lacking. However, I will give you a second go, Phil.
Oh, dear.
Boy, tough crowd.
Do something nice for the well-being of folk, and no, you just get abused.
Tough crowd.
I could stay at home. I am at home, but anyway.
Wowza. Now, Bookaholic Bex, we've been sort of communicating. What is going on in your world that we need to talk about?
So we got in touch, Russ, because obviously you saw something I put on Twitter around linking books and mental health.
Yes.
So as the pseudonym Bookaholic Bex implies, I am slightly book obsessed. I have a book blog. My whole life revolves around books. Everything is about the books. Read about 3 books a week, and I'm completely obsessed.
Excuse 3 books a week?
On average, yeah. Depends. Sometimes I have to go outside and do adult things and people and actually do my job as well. I know it's very upsetting. People make me work as well. I don't know what to do.
I need to make the most shocking confession. I am lucky if I read 3 books in a year. Not because I don't read. Can I just say, not because I don't read every single evening. As soon as I go to bed, I'm one of these weird people who lies in bed and reads rather than actually watches television more often than not. However, I'm a very slow reader. I absolutely couldn't absorb.
How long did it take you to read my book? I couldn't believe it. I thought he was.
It actually took nearly a year.
I said, "What do you think of it?"
It's quality, not quantity, though, right? So as long as you're
Not in
reading and
Phil's
enjoying
case.
what you're
No,
reading.
Bex, not in Phil's case. Just bloody slow.
If you read paper, but still, but I do. I get some enjoyment out of reading personally, but clearly not as much as enjoyment as you do.
To be fair, in my defence, I did an English degree, and doing an English degree, you have to read so much so fast that I think you learn to kind of get through things quite quickly. And also,
what do you do in real life, Bex?
Would you believe the exact opposite? I'm a performance and information manager, so I deal with data all day. So I'm sort of analysing various different crime stats, and that's about as exciting as it gets. So it's really nice to have the balance of a hobby that's so different and kind of about creativity and things like that.
What does it
Where
do?
Do you do all the books, or do you get them from the library or something?
So, I do probably spend too much money on books. I'm quite lucky in that now I'm on Twitter. Quite often I'll get contacted by authors who say, I'd really love you to review my book. Can I send you a copy? I don't think I ever say no. I never say no. I very happily review any book. Because...
Be known, Bex, for the record, I never say no to when people offer to send me books for my job as well.
Excellent. Love it. Well, free is a very compelling price point, isn't it? Really, let's be honest.
Anything with someday free, trust me, even that is not a bargain.
No. But if you open up the books and look at the sleeve, look at the cover, they all have prices on them. Absolutely extraordinary, sort of what publishers will give away for free, considering the value. Each book on average is sometimes £15 to £20. So I never take it for granted, and I do for what it's worth, based on the slow progress I make. I do try and read, or at least sort of, flick through as many of them as possible, but still.
The other problem with being on book Twitter, though, is that I constantly see books other people are reviewing. So it's not saving me much money because then I'm buying all the books they're reviewing as well. So.
Do you ever, now, what is it? Let's steer this back to what really interests me about, because we've never met. I just came across your tweet and I thought, that sounds really interesting. What does it do for you as a person, this reading?
So I'm someone who has experienced mental health issues from a very young age. So actually my very first memory as a child was having a panic attack, which is a bit sad. But it's something I've lived with my whole life, anxiety and panic. And I think the particular tweet that you saw, Russ, was one where I said that every lunchtime, I work from home primarily, every lunchtime I go and sit in what I call my library, which is just a spare bedroom, posh way of referring to it. And I sit in there and I have my lunch, and being surrounded by my books, I feel myself calm. It really brings down my anxiety levels. I think books are an incredible form of escapism. When you're struggling and you're trying to switch off your brain and you're overthinking everything. I also think they're a great way of learning more about others who may have gone through something similar and feeling less alone and less isolated and having that opportunity to learn.
I think one of my biggest problems is, and I've never had sort of anything properly diagnosed, so I don't want to go sitting here self-diagnosing, but I've always had some sort of attention span problem, always. Right through when I was at school, I never really paid attention in the class. I just get bored very, very easily, and it's really irritating, if I'm honest, because actually I do try. I have to work very hard to actually really show an interest in something. And it is the same with when it comes to, say, reading a book. I find I can get so easily distracted that I have to really sort of stop and concentrate. And I think that's why I'm quite slow at reading.
Have you ever tried audiobooks? They're quite.
That's what I do.
I zone out. It sounds terrible.
Oh my God, do you?
No, I've listened to audiobooks. One of the ones I listened to recently was by Harlan Coben, the American author.
Yep.
And it was not his latest book. It was the one before. For goodness sake, what was it called? Oh, I'll have to look it up. I'll tell you in 2 seconds. Anyway, the point is that it was a really fascinating thriller in typical Harlan style. He's an incredible writer. But for whatever reason, it's just I really had to, even with that, work hard to focused to listen to it, and it's so frustrating. Win, that was it. His book's called Win. That's by Harlan Coben. But still,
do you find you can sit and watch a film? Because I find my attention span's not as good when I'm watching something as when I'm reading something. I've never worked out why that is.
I really am terrible at films. If a program isn't short and sharp to the point, I'm terrible.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm quite similar.
You know, having lunch with Phil, Bex, it's like if the conversation doesn't go, he gets up and goes and sits at another table. He goes
I'm quite honoured he's still sat there, to be honest. I just wonder if maybe I might have bored him by now.
Well, no, it's what I do is I get Linda to super glue his chair every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 12 o'clock. He sits down. He hasn't twigged that it's.
You know what, Becky? There's one thing that does grip me, and you may have gathered this: is conversation. Is I love to talk,
which is a good thing.
And that's the reason why I think that sort of radio is the perfect thing. Is because, but also when it comes, funnily enough, when it comes to listening to radio as well, because if it's a conversational radio, even though you might be listening and not necessarily being involved in that conversation, I know obviously the three of us are now, but even if you're not, I find that sort of it's not unheard of for someone to say be shouting at the radio because it's that gripping, it's that engaging.
Oh, totally. Usually me going, "Shut up, you idiot! Where the hell? What have you got a peanut for a brain?" Now
that was my official write-up. I told you not to repeat that.
No, yeah, that was your write-up of BBC Radio 4. Now Ruthie Siegel, who I've known for many years, God knows how long, since the 80s actually, and Ruthie now lives in France, and she's saying, Phil. Bonjour. No, she's not French. She just lives. She's got the good smarts to live. Well, apart from the fact it's full of French people, but otherwise it's nice. Phil, hypnosis could help you with concentration. What are you going to say about that?
Interesting. I've never thought of it. It's very interesting.
Now let's get back to Bookaholic Bex. What do you try to do to control? And by the way, as I tried to mention in our messages backwards and forwards, because I know you got a bit worried. You said, "Oh, I'm a bit." And I said, "No, it's just the chat. So it's nothing more than that. You know, you're not in court or anything." What do you do to try to control your anxiety and all the other manifestations that you've had since childhood?
So the first thing I would say is in no way have I nailed it, but I have come an awful long way in learning about myself. And a key part of it was acceptance, was understanding actually that it doesn't make me broken or a bad person. I just sometimes react to things in a way that's a bit different to some other people.
Can we have an example? Could we have an example? Do you get very angry, or do you get?
No, I tend to get really upset. So if I give you an example, when I was a teenager and in my 20s, I used to really struggle with I say travel, but just being away from home. So even a night away from home, I would find incredibly difficult. And in the weeks before, the anxiety would build and I'd sob my heart out, and I'd literally kind of fall to pieces. And I was very lucky. I had some really good cognitive behavioural therapy on the NHS in my 20s, which helped me with things like, if I'm going away, taking familiar things with me and having them around me when I'm away, so it feels more like home.
What did you think would happen if you left home? What were you anxious about?
Well, that's the thing. Lots of psychotherapists have tried to unpick that. I never fully got to the bottom of it. It's just this sense that I wouldn't cope. Being away from something I know, I guess it boils down to fear of the unknown, doesn't it? These days, I'm fine. I've travelled the world. I love travelling. I don't like flying. I get really anxious flying.
No one likes flying. I hate flying.
I don't like the experience.
I actually loathe it, but there you go. You got to do it.
It's not fun. But it's what's at the end is worth it, isn't it? Basically.
But I hate the process of traveling, and I think
it
falls down to this attention span problem, because this is not so much right. It's actually sort of finding parallels rather than bringing it back to me. You have to understand, but it's more about no. Honestly, I know Russ thinks I love making it all about me, but actually, what I like is being able to relate to people who we have on this.
It's fine. I get it.
Recognize that it's not just me. Maybe
don't empathise with him, Bex. Don't.
I'll shut it. Anyway,
am I encouraging him now?
It's a minefield, and you've just walked into it.
No, but when you're in a plane, there's not very much that one can. Mind you could read all the way, so I think you should.
You can read. I zone out. I don't mind the plane part, but the whole airport thing gets me into tears.
Oh, it's so terrible.
It's the worst. I can't bear. And like you, Bex, I know this sounds ridiculous. I'm a terrible traveller. You wouldn't think so.
No, now he's making it about himself.
So, Beck, could you hear something? I'm sorry, we're getting some interference on the line. I can hear
I
a sort
need
of
to do
funny,
some
kind of whiny noise
I
coming
feel like
from
I need to do some couples counselling with you two here.
Yeah, it's too late. It's too late. Neither of us want custody of anything. That's what we're arguing about. We don't want the kids. Here's the thing. Yeah, it is. It is. I understand. So you thought you wouldn't cope, but you're much better now. You've talked. And was that because you got help, or did you just grow up, or did you talk yourself through it?
There's a lot of things.
That's the important thing.
Part of it was getting help. So as I say, I was very lucky. I know mental health services on the NHS aren't in quite such a healthy state now, but I was very lucky. But a lot of it was
honest, physical health's not much better, I promise you.
Yeah, I can imagine. But to be honest, a lot of it is just about talking about it. As soon as I stopped keeping it this deep, dark secret that I couldn't tell anyone, sort of it's a big release. And to be able to say to someone, I mean, I've done a lot of mental health work at work, so people are very aware of kind of my journey now, but just being able to say to anyone, I'm feeling a bit anxious today, or I'm struggling a bit, makes a massive difference. Just that release.
Did you think you would be, now this is really, really important, did you think you would be mocked or judged or criticized if you said, look, gang, I'm struggling? Did you think they'd look, they would think less of you, to put it in a rude?
Not those closest to me. I mean, my family always knew, and they've always been very, very supportive. And it was more about my peers, telling people who, were around me, who maybe I worked with, or even my friends. I didn't tell my friends for a very long time because, I thought I'd be judged. I thought they'd look down on me. And at 18, all my friends went off doing amazing trips around the world, Australia, America, who knows where. And there was me afraid to leave home. And I felt like a failure. I really, really felt like a failure.
But it's interesting how we beat ourselves up, isn't it? Asa Don Brown over in New York State, not New York City, New York State. Ruthie, I agree. She's agreeing with Ruthie Siegel, who's over in France. See, I told you this was international, and people think I make it up. If someone really has a desire for change, hypnotherapy is an excellent avenue, and I prescribe other psychological tools. There you go. There we are. It's so, but when you found they didn't judge you, because this is so a key part of mental health, and how, as I keep stressing, we beat ourselves up so badly, and it's us beating ourselves up. It's
Absolutely.
Not other people. It's us judging ourselves and saying, you're an idiot, you're a failure, you should have done this, and no one else is saying that.
One of the most powerful things I think I ever did was I went on a course about self-compassion. And I think you're right. I think we're all our own worst enemies. And I'd never talk to one of my friends the way I sometimes talk to myself in my head. I just wouldn't be that disrespectful. And I have so much more empathy at times for my friends than I do for myself. And one of the most powerful activities I did was writing a letter to myself. Sounds a bit cheesy.
And then you got lost in the post office, and then you thought, why hasn't that bitch bloody well written to me? And then the whole thing went horribly wrong.
Do you know what? I've still got the letter, and I get it out every now and then, and I go, oh yeah, that's why I should give myself a break. That's why I should, give myself. Did it
really help you? In all seriousness,
honest to God.
Wow.
Honest to God. I mean, you have to do it in the right headspace, and you have to do it with the right attitude. But to sit down and to say, you know what? Hey, Becky, I know you're feeling this way, but here are the reasons why actually you're quite strong, and why feeling that way isn't a bad thing. And it's a lot about reframing as well, because I think experiencing mental health challenges actually makes you have more empathy. It makes you a better friend. Actually, in terms of what you contribute to society, it can make you a better person. And I think that's something that all of us who struggle at times need to hold on to.
Yeah, but of course, unfortunately, it can have a reverse effect as well, where you start sort of seeing that other people who are not quite as empathetic and seeing how they behave, and of course, that can be quite soul-destroying sometimes.
It was really interesting.
Luckily, we don't dwell on those people.
To combine the conversation with what we were doing earlier, I was sitting next to a pal of mine last night at Soho Whiskey Club at this fundraiser. His name's Jazz, and his wife's in the therapeutic community at a very senior level by chance. He's nothing to do with it. And he says it drives him crazy because when she's watching the news, or she's watching a documentary, or she's watching a film, he goes, oh yeah, and starts doing all the disorders these people happen. Like somebody would be giving it, go, that's a narcissist, or that's somebody like that. And you say, please stop analysing everyone who comes up on the screen, which it's true. I mean, once you start to see the traits, it's like a sort of the curtain has been moved, and you see the people, why they're behaving and the way that they react with you, and you think, it's not actually me here. This
No,
is not,
and that's
not
really
actually
key.
me.
That is really key. We're so quick to blame ourselves, aren't we, for everything?
And it doesn't mean that you have to blame them, but it makes life a bit more, I'm going to say, palatable. You see,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, Bex? It makes it,
definitely.
because when someone's acting in a certain way, and sometimes if someone's someone makes some very rude comment, and if I don't, not if it's a friend, I just tell them to sod off. But if it's somebody I don't know, I go, well, that says more about you than it does about me. The fact that you're picking something, what's all that about? What's your issue here?
Yeah,
because it's not about the thing they're actually talking about. It's something completely different, probably, that's going on in their life,
Yeah.
Ramsey, you're right. I know I did fly 1.5 million miles in the flying eye. Did I enjoy it? It was very, very uncomfortable most of the time, and pretty unpleasant. But it was a good job. It's the flight. I don't mind. Once I'm on the plane, I'm absolutely fine. Just the process, as Phil was saying, and as Becky was saying, the process of going through the airport and all that faff, and people.
Yeah.
People.
Lots of people.
I don't like people that I don't know. It's just a thing with me. So, books. Do you have a particular type that helps? Do you read self-help books, or are you reading fiction? Because that's key.
So I never used to read. So I am more of a fiction girl, definitely.
Yeah,
but I think fiction has a part to play in helping mental health as well. I never used to read things in sort of the self-help category. I was a bit snobby about it. But actually, in more recent years, not so much self-help, but more autobiographies of people who've experienced mental health issues. I'll give you one example. Alistair Campbell wrote a book called Living Better, about his mental health struggles. And obviously he's someone very high performing, at the absolute top of his game when he was working with the government. And to hear someone explain how they face so many challenges, I think is quite inspiring, to think about how someone who, was that high performing.
I have a huge personal issue. I've never met Alistair Campbell. I never will. I totally understand what he went through, but I can't forgive him for what he did. And that's the hurdle that I have to climb. Otherwise, I would read his stuff, but I can't forgive him, because anyone who sexes up I can't forgive him.
Yeah, I think there's something about separating out kind of his experience and how he managed that, without necessarily saying that makes him a good person and everything he did was right. I don't think anyone involved in government you can ever put your hand on your heart and say that about.
No, absolutely not. That's why they're in government.
Yeah.
Basically, because no one else wants the job.
Sad, but true.
That is true. Do you go with trends in fiction? Do you think that helps us? Do you think that fiction reflects the society that we're in? What's going on?
Yes and no. I mean, trends are very much driven by publishers, and publishers will decide that something is in at a particular time, and then
they're always wrong. They're always wrong.
There'll be like 25 books on a particular topic, and then it gets old very quickly.
But somebody wrote, because I'm on lots of book group things, and somebody wrote, should I follow the trend? And I say, no, because if you follow the trend, the time you finish the book, the time it's been edited, they've designed the cover and it's been published, that train's left the station.
It really
and some
has.
other new crap has come on, some other nonsense that they all want to embrace. And your book is now, oh no, that's passé. Don't do that.
No, completely.
I remember when Harry Potter was huge, every writer was contacted by their publishers or their agent, like, oh, could you write a book about magic? Well, I write murder mystery. Well, yeah, but could you write a book about magic? Well, why would I do that? Well, it's very popular.
Becky, have you ever been tempted to write anything? Because you said about writing letters, you seem to love reading books. You ever been tempted to write one?
So I write a blog. I tend to blog about once a week. It's a book blog, but I also talk about mental health and, to be honest, it tends to reflect whatever's going on in my mind at that point in time. I actually find writing really cathartic. I find it really therapeutic in terms of it's the one time when actually, apart from reading, my brain focuses in on something and I can shut the world out a little bit. Having said that, I am not one of these people who believes everyone's got a book in them. Well, they might, but it might not be a very good book. I don't have some sort of
absolute. Oh, you're so right.
I don't have some burning story.
I wish I had a quid because I'd have a Maserati parked outside. Said, I've got a book in me.
I know.
Okay, well, I've got lunch in me, and we don't want to see that either. So
I think I would never discourage someone from writing, and I think self-publishing has a place because it means a lot to people to be able to self-publish something for their friends and their family. But I don't think I am ever. I might regret this. This is recorded, isn't it? But I don't think I'm ever going to be someone who suddenly announces they've got a book on the way.
But you might. Well, there's nothing. You see, that's really interesting. Isn't it interesting? You're saying, I might regret this, as if somebody would go and you wrote a book and it was good, and someone said, "See, but you said you weren't going."
Oh, but
why would they do that? That's really interesting.
Social media too, though, isn't it?
Well,
you're held to account for something you said when you were 17, and
screw them, ignore them, ignore them. This is interesting. This is coming in from New York State. Sorry, your picture's going to disappear for a sec. Asa Don Brown, as a psychologist, I recommend. Phil, I don't suppose I could tempt you to read this, could I?
Oh, very kind. As a psychologist, I recommend that all of my patients use meditation, breathing, and cognitive restructuring. Unconditional self-acceptance is the key to many unresolved issues and learning to love thyself unconditionally.
God, Asa, you know what, mate? If we ever meet, except on screen, you've got your work cut out. I can tell you that now. And this is interesting. This is from Ramsey. Russ Phil, did you see the reports that 3/4 of our pet dogs suffer from mental health issues, including anxiety? I am not surprised. I could talk about that for ages. I'm not suggesting an offshoot radio station, dog's radio station, but as man's best friend, it would be good to cover this subject in a future show. We've covered it in the past, but I'm always happy to do that, and the relationship between us and our pets and how they help us, how they get through anxiety. And do you have any pets, by the way, Bex?
No, I don't. I had a cat and I was so traumatized when it died that I've never quite come back from it. I would love to have another cat. I think pets are such good therapy.
They're incredible therapy.
What Asa was saying there about to love oneself unconditionally. I actually think if it's unconditionally, that's a bit grotesque because it means that one believes they can't improve or they can't change themselves.
No, I don't agree, Phil. I think you can love yourself but still recognize that you can grow and change.
I don't know.
It's tricky. The thought,
it's the unconditionally word that I.
Do you know what? It's very strange. I rarely agree with Phil, as you probably gathered, but I can't do unconditionally, Asa. I really get the notion, and I think Bex has really said it beautifully today, that, as I always say, stop beating yourself up. There's enough people out there to do that job for you. You don't need to add to the team, right?
Just East Croydon, that would do the trick.
Just go and be Paul Claridge up a ladder in East Croydon and get beaten up every day. Jesus, what a guy! But that's a long-running radio theme we have here with one of our gang. But unconditionally, no, I can't do it. Asa, I can't do it unconditionally. I wouldn't even know how to start. I try and cut myself some slack. I'll be absolutely upfront with you. That's the most I can do, is cut myself a bit of slack.
It's a good start.
More than, that's as far as I've got in the process. Seriously, no, Becky, I'm serious. That's as far as I've got in the process.
And I think lots of us are the same. A lot of us can talk the talk, but when it comes to the truth, it's a bit of a battle, to be honest, constantly to remind yourself, because we're very set in our ways of blaming ourselves and beating ourselves up.
You wrote to yourself. Do you ever, and this is a serious question, so I'm not being facile. Do you ever talk out loud to yourself and give yourself a pep talk?
Increasingly, the older I get, apparently talking out loud is a thing that develops as you come into your 40s. So yes, I have actually started. And I know, again, it sounds very cheesy, but looking yourself in the face in the mirror.
Oh God, I don't want to do that. I just go, hello, Dad. I see my father staring at me.
It's not easy. It's not easy, but to actually look, and to use positive affirmations, you are coping. You can do this. Really simple things can be really powerful.
I'll tell you why I say it. Like you articulated it in a letter to yourself, which I couldn't do that. But I totally understand the theory and the practicality of it. Sometimes when things I taught myself through it aloud. And when you hear the word, you think, what the hell am I doing? I'm like, yeah, all right, I've got this.
Yeah.
And that's fine. There's me and Ebony, my mini schnauzer, obviously is a very harsh critic. And she does give a critique, which is quite brutal. I'll be frank with you, she's quite brutal. But when you hear the words aloud, it helps.
Definitely.
I really think it helps. You think, what am I doing? Why am I upset about all that? Why do I think I can't do that? Of course I can.
The other thing that I found really powerful is keeping a gratitude diary. So it's about every day, at the end of the day, thinking about 3 things that I'm grateful for. And I mean, I've had some really rough days where I'm literally being grateful for I've got a roof over my head.
Well, that's
running water.
Hey, excuse me. Look what's going on.
Exactly.
Look what's going on in Ukraine.
Exactly. And sometimes just that helps reframe a bad day. And you just think, actually, I have got so much to be grateful for in my life. And, that's
but
really
my gratitude diary is always the same. I'm not Phil Dave. And that's my job.
Is that not enough, though?
That's enough. That's the point. It's enough. I don't need to write anything else.
I am just a punching bag. So this
it's only because it's normally it's the other way around. I'm just a bit sparky.
Oh, you are such a fibber. Normally,
Dave Sleet says Dave Sleet of the psychological community. Hi, Dave. To accept ourselves unconditionally means accepting the flaws and being honest with ourselves, destroying ourselves for those flaws. What's the last bit mean? Destroying ourselves for those flaws. Dave, come back. I need to know more about this. And this is good. This is good. Now, this is resonating. This is Paul Andrews, who we love lots. Loads and loads of guests on Be Positive, it's one of the shows that we have here on Men's Radio Station, have sworn by keeping a gratitude diary. I was amazed at how many.
It isn't. It's so powerful. Seriously, just try it for a week. Do it for a week and see what happens.
And this is good. Coming in from Spain. See, it's all over the world. Spain, France, I beg your pardon. Sorry. My fault. EFT tapping. Now, you did this, Phil.
Did I?
When we had this, you remember? With the wasps?
Yes. Oh, yeah. EFT tapping I just assumed that meant something like effective flushing of toilets. I don't know what EFT. What is EFT?
With you?
I don't know. What's EFT for crying out loud?
Well, Ruthie would tell us. Ruthie.
Okay, break it down for us. Sorry, no initials. EFT. What does that mean? Okay, tapping. EFT tapping is also excellent. I agree with breathing and meditation. Well, I quite like to be able to breathe. I'm sure. I'm a therapist. Excuse me. I'm being perfectly serious. I appreciate breathing. This may come as a shock to you, but I do. Anyway, and she also recommends meditation as well. She says, I'm a therapist too of all of these systems, even have a master's in health psychology.
You're an accountant. How have you done this?
There you go. Well, that's
brain like a planet, this woman. She's got a brain like a planet.
Well, gracious.
Best. What do we got here? Best thing about a gratitude diary is when you're not feeling it, you can go back and read it. See, I don't keep a diary. Nothing worse than going through I keep appointments. That's it. There's no, got up feeling a bit sad. Nothing. I'm not interested because you know what? All it does, it shows all my hopes and aspirations completely trashed over the years. So I won't keep a diary.
You know what?
Anymore.
You sound like you need a gratitude diary. I'm not going to lie.
Everything goes on to tell us, by the way, Becky, that apparently it's an emotional freedom technique. EFT is emotional freedom technique.
No, I like that. And then Dave Sleet says, avoid us destroying ourselves for those. That is really good.
Dave is bang on. That's absolutely.
Well, he knows his onions. He is another brain.
You've never ever met anyone like Dave. He honestly is just nearly bang on with everything. He is bang on with everything.
He's such a lovely guy. He's a lovely guy. And Ruthie C says, I've lived a long time, Russ. Have you? Okay. I guess I've known you a lot. I've known you since the 80s. Jeez. Very, very early 80s.
Paul goes on to say, but with a gratitude diary, it only has the good stuff and makes you find the good stuff in every day.
It does. And actually, there are apps you can use for it. I'm a bit old school when I write mine, but there are apps you can do and you can attach a photo a day and things like that. So if you've seen family or done something fun or done couples counselling with two men on a radio station, that sort of thing.
Surely you can't possibly be grateful for this.
Always.
If she wasn't depressed before starting this show, By 12:30 today, she's plummeting into the abyss. Now tell me something. What was I going to say?
I'm so grateful for 1 o'clock.
I'm so grateful I've never met these two idiots in my life and never have to speak to them again. Yours sincerely, Bookaholic Bex. Oh, this is good. This is what Paul Andrews. I put mine on post-it notes and drop them in the top. Do you really, Paul? Do you really? There's a saying that I
always wonder
totally.
what people keep in the middle of a top hat. There's so much wasted space. Now I know it's a stationery cupboard for Paul. But anyway.
There is an interesting thing that I've always believed, and I was told many, many years ago, and I've lived by it, that if you were in a room with a load of people, and there was a top hat, funnily enough, they use the analogy of the top hat as well, Paul Andrews, and you wrote down your problems and you put them in the top hat, you would be praying that you got your own problems back.
Oh, that's wise.
And I've always believed that. Because you think,
wise.
I've got this, I've got that, but I really wouldn't want to take the risk, and I bet.
Yeah.
I come. Well, I try not to bet, but
but it's beyond a risk. It's not about that. It's because don't forget that not everyone is open and honest. So people, of course, may have problems that you just don't know about. So it may be that if we are talking about putting your cards out on the table,
no, we're going from a baseline, Phil, of they're being honest, not like.
No, I know, but that's what I mean. That's exactly why we've said it before, said a million times over. That's exactly why social media can be quite poisonous, is because people are not going to put themselves at their worst in the public eye, are they? They are going to put.
Somebody did yesterday. I've got to send you some. I'm not going to talk about it on air because I'm so furious. I'm going to send you some stuff for you to look at, Phil. And if you don't phone me within 10 minutes screaming down the phone, then I really don't know you. Dave Sleet says journaling is great introduction to identifying the things that can trigger our emotional reactions. From there, we can work them better and understand our actions. This is very good. And Veronica, who is up in Edinburgh, says we all need to be more grateful. See, this is my philosophy in one message. I look at the little things in life. I genuinely do, 100% seriously. And I'm very, very grateful for them. I don't go around going, I want a Porsche 911. Well, I'd love one, but I don't, it doesn't consume me. I want to live in Bishop's Avenue. I don't. If I've had a nice walk with the dog, it makes me really happy. It's lovely and I can live with that.
And let's quickly shoehorn this one in from Paul, who says that when I was going through my cancer treatment, my lovely friend Linda encouraged me to write a personal blog just for myself to help keep me focused and sane. She now is, of course, a successful author herself and has gone through the same battle as I did. Writing helped her and it helped me. One day I may publish my blog. On that note,
yes.
Becky, where do people go if they want to find you? Where they can?
So Twitter's the best place to find me. I'm my handle is at Bex Bookaholic, so BEX Bookaholic.
And if you would spread the word about Men's Radio Station in a nice way.
Well, it's been a delightful experience. Thank you very much for having me. I will be happy to tell the world.
Oh, bless you.
I'm so grateful I survived.
I survived.
do I get a t-shirt? Do I get like I survived Men's Radio
t-shirt
and
an annual allowance of at least £50,000. Anyway,
looking forward to
thank
it.
you very, very much. It's been
a pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys.
Right.
Have I need a t-shirt? You get a couple of mugs thrown in for the bar.
Well, that's really good. You're informed. You're informed today. Absolutely charming. And I just came across her on Twitter, and I thought, yeah, this is someone I'd really like to have on the show because it's important. There is someone, who's worked on themselves, and I think there's always information and facts of real nuggets of things that you can grasp and say, yeah, I could work with that. I think that's important stuff.
Well,
there we are. Phew, another show.
Another day, another dollar poorer.
Well, not in my case. Just another day.
Oh dear. Yeah, it is funny how, and I really do mean this, when we get guests on, I know that I do bring it back to myself a lot, but actually it's out of such relief. It's the kind of therapy that I'm so pleased I can see similarities.
Yes, of course.
Those who are prepared to be so candid and talk about their experiences in life. And I just think it's not just me. And I feel like that's a really important message behind MRS is it's not just you. It's not just
you. It's not, you are not alone. And the worst thing about mental health is you feel, and we've discussed this so many times with all our experts, you feel you're alone. You're not. You're not. It's not just you.
On that positive note, shall we see you on Friday at midday? Shall. Bye, everybody.
Friday. Bye, gang.